This is the video for Lab 19, which is Viewshed Analysis and Introduction to 3D GIS. So the first thing you're going to want to do is open up your Lab 19 or Exercise 19 APRX file, and we will have one map with an elevation layer, an Interstate 68 layer, and the Morgantown Airport. So the first thing we're going to do is open up our analysis and our environments to make sure that our current and scratch workspace is exercise 19. We want our cell size to be maximum of inputs, convert units, and we can press OK. So we can navigate to Tools, and we can search Viewshed. And we can click on Geodesic Viewshed. And we can put our input elevation roster, our input roster as the elevation roster. We want our input point or polyline observer features to be the airport. And we can rename this view_r, and we can run. So values in orange are areas that we can see from the airport. And the question for this is, can any portion of Interstate 68 be seen from the location on the airport runway? And the answer would be yes, because this section right here you can see from the airport. So now we want to work with creating a 3D scene. So if we go to Insert, New Map, New Local Scene, this will open up a new scene for the United States. And we can go to Map, Add Data, Browse, and we want to add the Pittsburgh data from the data folder where we have exercise 19 saved. So we want to add the Pittsburgh image and the building footprints, and we can press OK. This will add the Pittsburgh buildings, and we want to extend the buildings so they are 3D. So if we select the building's footprint in the contents pane, and we go to feature layer, and we go to extrusion, and then type, we want max height, and then we want our field to be max M. And then this will extend the Pittsburgh buildings into 3D. Now we want to convert this into a 3D layer by itself, so we can go to Analysis, Tools, and we can look up Layer 3D to Feature Class, and we want our input feature layer to be the building footprint, and we can rename the output feature class to buildings_3D, and we can run. Now we can mark what was the 2D layer, so we can uncheck the building's footprint. And now these are their own 3D model. And now we want to replace the tallest building, the US Steel building, with a Google SketchUp of the actual building. So we can go to Map, we can select from the Selection tab, we can hit Select, click on the building, and then we can go to Edit, and then we want to replace multi-patch. And then we can go into our exercise 19 folder, go to data, and then we want to add the ussb.dae file. And then that will replace the US Steel building with a 3D model of the building. Now we want to save a 2D graphic of the scene, so we can find it. You can find an angle that you like, and then you can navigate to the Share tab, select the map in the export, in the export area, export map, type PDF, and then you can save this to your exercise 19 folder, and you can export. And then you will turn that in. And then you want to create another 3D scene for Washington, D.C. and replace one of the 4 buildings: the Washington Monument, the Nano Tower, the Smithsonian Museum, or the Smithsonian Museum of American Art, or the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History. So we need to create a new scene. So we can go to map, add data, browse, folders, exercise 19, data for DC, buildings DC 3D shapefile, and we can press OK. This is all the buildings for DC. And then we can do a convert this to 3D. We can go to feature layer, type, max height, field, max Z, units in meters. This may take a second to update because there's a lot of data points. And then you would create your building 3D layer for DC. And then you can run that. This may take a while to run because there's a bunch of buildings. once your layer 3D to feature class is done, you can uncheck the buildings to 3D and wait for the buildings to reload. And then you can select which building. I'll do the Washington Monument. And then go to feature layer, no, edit, and then replace multi-patch, find the file for the Washington Monument and press OK. And that will eventually change this to a 3D model of the Washington Monument. And then once it's loaded, you can export the map by going to share, and then exporting map, and exporting. And that is the end of Lab 19.